Pike could hit the
Started.
good. Commissioner Pike hit the record button. So we're opening the meeting. Even though it's April 30th, the date of the document for today's agenda is April 20th. We'll be correcting that. Is there any public comment for items not appearing on today's agenda from the public? I'm pretty sure we don't have any public on. So any changes or alterations to the April 16th meeting minutes? If not, can we have a motion and a second to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Okay, so we have Jason Moser making the motion to approve the minutes. Commissioner Dershowitz is the second. All those in favor of approving the minutes do so by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay, just so we can tell the difference. All right, the minutes are approved. Now I believe we go to the new business, which is the first one. Item A is authorization to distribute surplus funds. I believe Kristen is probably going to cover this in detail, but I believe we have the ability to receive about half of our surplus at this point.
That's correct. CCHIP has authorized distribution of 50% of our claim fund surplus, which is $500,443. We have to indicate how we would like that to be distributed. I know at past meetings there was talk of we had to keep a certain amount in reserve, but I believe we keep our own reserve account. I think Tom and Jason can talk about that more, where they would like the funds to go. Once the decision's made, Heather will complete this form and leave it down on Michael's desk for his signature when he is in, and then I will communicate it and get it to Kathy tomorrow when I'm in the office.
Yeah, so if Tom and Jason could talk about your recommendation and thoughts on where we should put the $500,000 and a tiny bit of change.
Yeah, I think it was, we keep our own reserve at the county, so rather than leave it with the benefit or Benecon there with the be best probably just take the cash and leave it in our reserve with the county account.
Any thoughts on that, Tom?
I don't know that he was on the email. Was he on the email for this? Paul?
I believe he was. Let me double check.
Well, it's okay if he's not here. I know he and Jason talk quite a lot.
He was invited to the meeting and the request.
Okay, I would just say that this is consistent with the way in which we accepted the money in the first, our first year of participation, that the money was accepted and kept in our segregated fund.
And were we able to verify, either Margaret or Jason, if the county is able to keep the money market interest on that account and then use the money market interest for general purposes?
I do not know if Tom researched that or not, or I don't know if Jason did. I can find out. I will find out.
All right, because even though it would be a lot of money, it'd be nice to, you know, put in whatever we have to put into the reserve, but be able to utilize interest for county purposes.
All right, so the question is, can interest income from the account be used for general fund purposes?
Well, probably limit it. I would say, does the county need to credit interest from the reserve account to Benecon? Because otherwise, it's ours to use, right?
The interest income, I believe, is that's our money. Whether the
That's our
money,
money?
it's our money. That is money coming back to the county for the use of that funding as you determine you want to use the money. The one decision point is whether or not Benecon keeps it on our behalf or not. I believe if Benecon kept the money We've not talked to them about if they would credit the interest income from that to our account, but that is our money. So
Okay.
the question would be, does the income earned from that money that sits in our account, it gets posted to that account. One question would be, could that money, the interest income, be used for other than health-related expenditures?
Yeah. Yep. That's good.
And I do recall having a discussion where, and this was brought to our attention by the controller's office, where we needed to have a certain portion of money in there that we couldn't touch. Is that correct, Jason?
Yeah, it's just to make sure if we have any shortages or anything in the future that we have some backup and coverage there. But it's not really a set amount that we have to have in the reserve. It's just guidance really to make sure we're any shortfalls or anything like that we have some backup.
So if in turn the county decided in a future year to leave the self-funded Benecon program, there would be a period of time for which we would have to make up the claims, and that's the calculation that was used, and the guidance or the advice was given that we keep at least that amount in the account, as Jason said, so that those expenses could be paid for. If we never leave the Benecon self-funded program, that money doesn't get used for that purpose, but it's good to have it there in case at some future point you would decide to exit.
And as I remember, the rough guidance for that run out money was a very large fraction of $1 million.
I think it was less than that, but
it's actually close to what the refund is right now.
Oh, so it was more like $500,000 instead of 700 or 800,000. Okay.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So, but the amount we need to have in that account is more than or similar to the $500,000 we're receiving.
Yeah, close to it. I don't have the number right in front of me, but it's around there.
Okay, so it would appear that the recommendation from finance and the controller's office and possibly even the administrator is that these monies are put into our money market accounts, but that we kind of have a financial segregation stating that this money is reserved for essentially for the run out should we ever leave Benecon.
Well, and I think, Mark, we already have some in there from our first year. Don't we already have some funds in there?
Yes.
And what is
Yes,
that total?
That I don't remember offhand.
See, that's why I was asking, because
Okay.
I think it was a couple $100,000.
Yes, that's correct. Everything that we've received from Benecon is in that account currently.
Right, and so that was my question is, if the run out account needs to be 700, 800,000, this $500,000 would put us right about where we need to be. If the run out account needs to be $500,000 and we already have 200,000 in there and we're getting $500,000, then I think we're going to need to figure out what we do with the excess.
That is correct. With the addition of this money, we will have more money in that account than we need for just the run out should we leave Benecon. So I think some of our earlier discussion was about keeping that money in there, letting it accumulate, and then when we look at claims and premium costs next year for our employees, we might use that money to bring down the percentage of increase that our employees would experience. So it's a combination of, within that fund, we know that we're earmarking a certain amount of it for the payout if we needed to leave, but we also know we're building a reserve for future healthcare costs facing the county and its employees.
Okay, so do we just want to have this stored in one account then, just for simplicity's sake? Okay.
Yes, yes. And that's why we have this benefits trust fund, because then we can continue to track the money and know that we have a portion of it for the payout, but that we also have another amount in there to consider use in the next round of healthcare discussions, cost
Okay.
discussions.
All right, so then perhaps one simple motion to transfer it into whatever Jason tells us it's called account would take care of it. Is there other discussion?
Now.
Okay. If there's no other discussion, help me with this, Jason. Are we simply looking for a motion to transfer these, what is it called here? To transfer the surplus funds into the Employee Benefits Trust account?
That's correct.
All right.
And I can make that motion.
All
Second.
right. So Jason made the motion, Commissioner Dersham seconded it. All those in favor of approving, do so by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries, and I believe we do have a full quorum of all members, voting members of the board. Don't know if I covered that before or not. All right, our next item is the
Just to clarify,
capital. Yeah,
sorry, Mark. To clarify then, we will complete this form for the funds to be sent to us to be refunded by check so that they can then be directed into that account.
correct.
Correct.
Okay, just,
I think you mentioned
I
you'll
wanted
put
that
the
on.
form. Yes, and you'll put the form that authorizes that on Commissioner Pipe's desk, and he'll sign it for us.
Correct, and I'll pick it up off his desk tomorrow.
Great. All right, our next item is the Capital Blue Cross COVID-19 update extension, which I think is talking about extending the county directly paying for any, I think it's deductibles directly related to COVID infection by county employees.
That is correct. So we had agreed to have it go initially through May 1st. Capital wants to extend this coverage through May 31st. I did get clarification from Kathy Cook and Capital that if someone gets diagnosed with COVID now, their deductible's waived. But if, say, come November, they break their leg or they have to have surgery, the deductible will then apply. So it only waives it for COVID diagnosed treatment.
And I should also mention that also includes anyone else covered, significant others, children, et cetera, dependents.
Right, anyone on the coverage, correct.
Okay. So general discussion on this topic?
I think I'm good extending or approving the extension through May 30th.
Is that a motion?
Yeah, if there's no other discussion, I'll make the motion to extend the waiver, or us covering the deductible, or approving the waiver through May 31st, I guess.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Any other additional discussion now that we have an active motion on the floor? No? Okay, all those in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Opposed, do so with a nay. Okay, another unanimous vote of the quorum. I think, let me double check here. Kristen, do we have any other items for discussion for the board?
That's everything.
All right. I know we have election board at 11:30. Unless there's anything else from the rest of the board, can we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Commissioner Dershowitz moves. We'll give Margaret Gray the second. All
Thank
those in favor do so by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed with a nay. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
See you in a few minutes.
Yep.